I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills when a landslide brought me down.
So my name is Kim Morris. I'm the current mayor of McMinnville, and joining me as Master of Ceremonies today is former Mayor Ed Gormley. We were asked by the family to serve as Master of Ceremonies today, and we're very honored to be able to do that. So first, what we're going to do is I have a couple things to say, Ed will, and then we're going to go into a list of speakers that you have in your program. So first of all, I just want to say I knew Kent most of my life, and he was a wonderful man. He ended up living around the corner from me just before his passing. We lived there about 4 years when Mike and I moved over there. And one thing that he did, he would come over and visit me when I was running for mayor. He'd stop by. He stopped by about 2-3 times, and then he wrote me a letter right after I won. And I framed it, and it's been in my office since I took office. And what it said was, Mayor-elect Kim Morris, congratulations. We are confident that you are the person that the city of McMinnville needs right now. You have the vision and heart coupled with strength, experience, maturity, and knowledge of the community. Your open, collaborative spirit is key to nurturing a civil, cohesive council, to building and sustaining trust and respect between the council and staff, to creating local, regional, state, and federal partnerships, and ultimately to represent the citizens of McMinnville. As you know, there is a definite learning curve ahead of you. However, I'm confident that you are up to the task, as are the citizens who elected you. If you ever wish to visit with an old guy, no matter the topic, I am here to support you. The invitation is always open. This is an exciting time for the city of McMinnville with so many important projects on the horizon that will impact the community's quality of life long into the future, and I wish you the very best. Sincerely, Kent. So I just wanted to read that because it did mean a lot to me. And now I'd like to introduce former Mayor Ed Gormley.
Thank you, Mayor Kim. Good afternoon, everyone. As you know, Kent and I spent, oh my God, thousands and thousands of hours together, and over those years we had up until his passing, a wonderful relationship. He and I were like brothers with each other. I'm sure some of the staff felt that at different times in that. So I'm going to read his obituary, and if you'll bear with me, please. Kent was born October 12th, 1949, Portland, Oregon, the third of Max and Grace Preston Taylor's 6 children. Kent attended St. Rose Elementary School, Central Catholic High School, and University of Oregon before receiving his master's degree in public administration from Pennsylvania State University in 1972. And as all of you know, we had lots of Penn State memorabilia around City Hall for lots of years, and the building department would chastise him at times and pick on the lion in front of the building department. So, and Mike Bissett was probably most responsible for that. Kent was an avid supporter of the Oregon Ducks and the Nittany Lions, and Kent, they're playing today. I think some prayers might be in order based on how the game is starting, but anyway. Following graduation, Kent married Janice Breich. They parented 3 remarkable children, Emily, Benjamin, and Molly. During that time, Kent began his career serving as the City of Grants Pass Administrative Assistant to the City Manager, 72 to 75, City of Estacada City Administrator, 75 to 78, City of Springfield Assistant City Manager, 78 to 80, City Manager of Lincoln City, 1980 to 86. Kent completed his 42 years of public service in city administration as the City of McMinnville City Manager from 86 to 2014. 2004, Kent married Sylvia. 5 years later, grandson Nolan was born, followed by grandsons Bridger, Louie, and Max. There's no title that was greater for him than being the grandpa. Among Kent's many accomplishments, he was recognized as Oregon's longest-serving manager in one community. And while Kent's career in local government spans 42 years, his final position as McMinnville's manager for the city of McMinnville was the record-breaking 28 years. Between he and Joe Dancer, I think we had 53 or 55 years between 2 people managing our city. While others may have met or exceeded Kent's 42-year milestone, his final remarkable 28 years in McMinnville revealed a truly exceptional city manager whose love for and commitment to the profession and to the community never waned. He never rested on his accolades and achievements. In fact, he was quick to acknowledge that it takes everyone working together to achieve success. Kent was dependable, and he showed up when other city managers were slowing down and counting the days until retirement. He was still striving hard to improve himself and the lives around him. In an interview, he was asked, "What do you think contributed to your incredible record?" Reflected thoughtfully and responded, "McMinnville's a very special place. I visualize it as a tapestry composed of threads made of positive, constructive public and private leadership, a strong sense of volunteerism and service, a sense of place that looks and feels like home, a sense of history, a talented and long-tenured staff. Such tapestry turns the job into vocation. I have loved the community and the organization, and it has consistently returned my love tenfold. Been blessed by elected officials and staff whose keels were comprised more of humility than ego. We read a lot in management literature about team, and in describing high-performance organizations, I believe that an orchestra is a more appropriate description of the greater McMinnville community and the city organization. It's played beautiful music for many, many years." When Kent received the statewide Municipal Governments Association's highest award, the Herman Curley Award, Kent was praised for being a model of integrity, energy, competence, and unselfish service. Kent himself was a model citizen. Beyond work, he volunteered for and supported numerous community organizations. He served a plethora of local and statewide boards and commissions, including the League of Oregon Cities, Oregon International City Management Association, City County Insurance Services, the Downtown Association, Chamber of Commerce, Oregon Food Bank. Kent was actively involved in mentoring and supporting future community leaders of all ages. He, more than any other organization of managers, department heads were confident and assured he would always have their backs. Some would say Kent took management by walking around to a new level. He was a frequent user of the library and parks, recreation, and aquatic center, where he swam laps daily. Personally, he supported the local businesses, frequent local restaurants, was often seen picking up trash off the streets or snapping up weeds in the public spaces. He genuinely cared for the city because it was home. On his retirement, the new Kent L. Taylor Civic Hall was named in honor of the man who gave his all to the city. Kent will be remembered as a man of integrity and a humble servant leader. He was the voice of reason and conflict, the model of respectful civil discourse. He was level-headed, kind, generous, patient, knowledgeable, and extraordinary ability to find unity within discord. He was an effective and artful communicator and facilitator who worked diligently to develop and uphold a strong, participatory, democratic process that values differing opinions while reaching compromise and building consensus for the common good. In every situation, he was thoughtful and respectful. Kent infused in every aspect of life a spirit of gratitude and faith in the human spirit. Kent made a profound, far-reaching, and lasting difference in the lives of his three loves: his family, our community, and the state of Oregon. So as I conclude this information, I want to share one final thought with you. Beyond Kent, the city manager, there was Kent the man who touched each of our lives deeply and profoundly. Kent would be the first to say, "No, it was you. You touched my life and helped me more the version of myself." Kent never forgot those who shaped him: his mom, dad, brothers, sisters, cousins, spouses, children, grandchildren, schoolmates, colleagues, employers, neighbors, doctors, caregivers, brief acquaintances, lifelong friends, and of course his creator. I believe he kept a list in his heart of everyone who touched his life and contributed to him being the man he was. This afternoon, you're going to hear from a few other folks that can't touch their lives and that. Do you want to go ahead with?
So before we get started, we thought it would be interesting to see a lot of people are in this room that we haven't seen in a while. So if you could raise your hand if you served on city council while Kent Taylor was the city manager. Great. Now raise your hand if you sat on a board, a commission, or were staff while Kent Taylor was city manager. There's a lot of you here. Glad you could come. So we're going to start with speakers, and we're going to start with Kelly Minke, former city councilor.
so nice to see everyone here today. Kent Taylor is a name synonymous with thoughtful leadership and civic pride. Through his commitment to preserving McMinnville's charm while championing its growth, Kent left an indelible mark on the city. His vision was not merely one of progress, but of balance, cultivating a place where innovation thrives without sacrificing small-town character that defines McMinnville. Kent Taylor was a transformational leader. He led his team by establishing a clear vision, promoting innovation, and supporting personal development. I met and got to know Kent Taylor when I joined Sunrise Rotary in 1988. However, I knew him by sight as McMinnville City Manager prior to that. I remember seeing him running in the early morning in his red running tights. He cut quite a figure. I championed and chaired my first Rotary committee to build a play structure in Joe Dancer Park so that children too young to play soccer would have a safe place to play. With Dave Brown's planning, the club constructed a small play structure over 6 months using lumber and welded metal bars. I remember the weekend we finished the play structure. It looked kind of lopsided, but it was complete and standing under the direction of Kent Taylor. The city engineering staff, led by Don Scott, made small changes to the feature, which became a regular part of the park for years. Recently, Candace Haynes, the city attorney at that time, reminded me that you had to earn Kent Taylor's respect in order for him to want to work with you. I think it was the play structure that caused him to ask me to be on the budget committee. It was on the budget committee that I learned to admire Kent's skill at budget presentation, his consistency in style, and the ability to encourage others to participate. When the city went from the computer bar paper to the new budget format with the able assistance of CFO Carol Benedict, it was a game changer for understanding the city budget, all backed by Kent Taylor. In 2000, I volunteered to work with Dick Wendell, a city council president, on what was termed manpower by the McMinnville Chamber of Commerce. Dick talked about the city council while we worked together. I listened intently. Dick encouraged me to consider running for city council. However, it was not until several years later, in 2004, when my family had moved to Ward 2, that I decided to run in Dick's ward, because Dick was moving to Florida. I went to Kent Taylor and told him I was interested in city council, and he seemed pleased. Kent said I needed to talk to Mayor Gormley, though. I was appointed out of a group of 4 people. I was the only woman. I had to immediately run on the upcoming election and basically ran unopposed. As one of 3 new city councilors, I listened attentively at meetings. I had a lot to learn. I came to realize that Kent Taylor was a much admired boss by his staff. Both men and women on his staff regarded him as a transformational leader. Working with Kent and the other councilors, I realized that Kent consistently considered all aspects of any decision while managing McMinnville. Kent chose Dave Hansen, Scott Hill, and me to work on a public outreach known as City Fair. We met to discuss what a public outreach should look like and where we should have it. With the new designation of Discovery Meadows, the expansive 25-acre park, it was decided as the appropriate location for this city-sponsored event. The fair included big vehicles from Public Works, the fire department, and Water and Light. There were police dogs in action, a library fund booth, planning, engineering, and accounting all had their booths and information. To create an authentic fair atmosphere, we had vibrant circus performers and a selection of diverse culinary offerings. Kent and the council served ice cream and hot dogs. This experience served as my initial exposure to the sophisticated approach that Kent's employed in contributing to McMinnville's distinctive character. Over the last 10 years that Kent Taylor was city manager, there was much to celebrate in McMinnville. The dedication of the new police station, Civic Center, and Plaza, the planning and completion of the Granary District Lafayette Street upgrade, many wastewater upgrades, the education, planning, and implementation of the Urban Renewal District, and the crowning achievement, the planning for and selling of the transportation bond. The benefits of the bond proceeds were realized after Kent retired, but these outcomes were a direct result of his involvement in planning and presenting the bond for public vote. Kent Taylor, mindful of the impact of taxes on McMinnville citizens, wanted to wait until we would retire to bond to lessen the impact to taxpayers. We met with Kent, Mike Bissett, and other staff members for approximately a year to discuss the bond and its intended uses. Polling indicated that a general obligation bond was broadly supported by the citizens of McMinnville. When asked, citizen stakeholders were willing to pay more for significant transportation improvements. This led to a planned improvements at Adams and Baker Street intersections and establishing 5th Street as an alternative route across town. It included straightening and widening Hill Road and Old Sheridan Road, along with significant sidewalk upgrades. Kent's meticulous planning made sure that each part of the city got something. With the map fact sheet, it was easy to go out and talk to citizens and tell them about the bond and what they would get in return for their vote. The $24 million bond passed. Perhaps the best part of being on Kent's city council was that he always had your back. One time, during a contentious hearing, an individual called me out for bias for my prior affiliation with Habitat for Humanity. Kent addressed that individual in no uncertain terms that I was not biased because of my volunteer efforts. Although unexpected, I did not pursue the matter further. It was not until my last year on city council that I learned to my surprise that that individual had gone ahead and subsequently sued the city on this particular issue. Kent was correct in his position that there was no bias with volunteer affiliations, and it is documented in case law. Kent Taylor was a transformational leader. He inspired and motivated his team by creating a clear vision, encouraging innovation, and fostering personal development. He built trust and enthusiasm, helping people exceed their expectations for big positive changes together. In addition, he was a meticulous planner, giving attention to fairness in city dealings to all concerned. He was the type of manager that would get down in the weeds and pull them out of the sidewalk, as Dave Renshaw can attest. Kent Taylor loved McMinnville. It was an honor and a privilege to serve with him.
Thank you, Kelly. Next, we'd invite Jeb Ledeen, the publisher of the News Register, to come forward with his thoughts. Jeb, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Ed and Mayor Kim. In February 1986, the City Council had 70 applications for city manager. They interviewed 3 finalists, and a week later unanimously selected Kent Taylor. They didn't take a lot of time. They liked what they saw, and they knew that they had found the right person for the job, as we all learned over the years to follow. A month later, there was a major town hall meeting that launched the McMinnville Downtown Association. Kent was at that meeting, but none of us knew it because Ed had sneaked him in. And you know, the process wasn't quite as public in those days as it is in today's world. So we didn't know who the new city manager was, but he was there at that meeting. It was it made an impression on him. I know, because from day one, Kent was just embraced the downtown as he did the whole city, but the downtown development mission. In his first month in office, the MDA proposed a city-MDA partnership, a funding partnership. It was approved in May of that year and has been approved every 3 years since, reconfirmed. Kent's commitment to that partnership never wavered. It was incredibly important to the whole development of the downtown from the mid-'80s on. There had, of course, been an interesting 15, 20-year development period before then, but it had reached the point where it needed strong leadership and strong support and a real city partnership, and that's what we got with Kent. Much of my relationship with Kent was professional. I was the editor of the paper, and he was the city manager. Lots of potential for conflict. There never happened. And that's because, with Kent, all relationships were personal. We had a professional and personal relationship. Even when the time I reported that Mayor Ed had given him a 24% raise, raised a few eyebrows. Then I had to apologize the next week for the mistake we made. It was actually 4%. But he was okay. He was okay with that. And for the first time, I can reveal the silent deal that I had with Kent Taylor for many years when he had what might not have been the greatest idea in the world, and somehow the city picked up on it, and it sort of went sideways with a council action. We blamed the council. After all, they make the decisions. And when he had a great idea and marshaled it through something wonderful for the city, we credited the council. Because fair is fair, and Kent didn't care. He wasn't looking for, applause for his work. It was the work itself and the city and the people. Here's one of Kent's favorite quotes that was passed along to me. It was from Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Kent made me feel comfortable and appreciated and accountable in our relationship as newspaper and city manager. His door was always open, and we maintained each other's confidence and trust for all 28 years of his tenure here. His leadership, as Kelly pointed out, in financial affairs was essential to the city. He was cautious and conservative when the times called for caution, and he was progressive when the time was right for advancements and innovations. With little fanfare, he touched on every aspect of city services over those 28 years. Our editorial in November 2014 ended saying his tenure has been collaborative, civil, constructive, sure, and extremely productive. He's leaving McMinnville in great shape. We all come to events like this to honor people like Kent, but also with hopes of becoming better people ourselves. With that in mind, I asked Sylvia if what she might say about Kent, and here's a little bit of that. He cared. He had a deep, deep well of gentle, patient caring towards everybody and everything. Kent was never dismissive or disrespectful. He truly believed that differences could be ironed out, that everyone is capable of change, and that even polar opposites share common goals of family, health, safety, quality of life, and the innate need to belong to a community. Kent never gave up on anyone. He never shut anyone down or out. He had an insuppressible faith in the human spirit. So, thanks, Sylvia. And we all could use a little more of that. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from former Mayor Scott Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, we're all saddened to be here, but at the same time, it's good to look in the audience and see so many friendly faces. This is Kent Taylor community. Okay, we'll hear that a number of times this evening or this afternoon. When I think of Kent, there are three visions that come to my mind. We've heard most of them already. Penn State, Vovos, and the lunchtime routine of swimming at the aquatic center. And you never got in the way of swimming at the aquatic center. I met Kent in 1993 when Kent and former Mayor Ed Gormley came to me and said, "Scott, we'd like you on the budget committee." And 30 years later, I finally got off of that committee. But I loved it. And Kelly made mention, and she and I served together for many, many years. But when we started out, the computer paper was that long and that wide, and it was about that thick, and you carried it. And even for us that liked numbers, it was terrible. All it was ledgers, GL accounts, except for at the very beginning. Kent would always write something personable there about the city and how important finance was. And then through Kent's focus and Carol and the others in the finance department and every other head of departments came in and did this narrative that was beautiful. I loved that book. Kelly loved that. And Kent still did his formative introductions at the beginning of that book. I've had an opportunity to serve and deal in the state many times, and I would use that budget book as, take a look at a good one, people. Take a good look at a good one. In 1993, I also had the opportunity to serve with Kent on the Chamber of Commerce board. And Kent was on the board to make sure the city was represented well. And he did that so well. He was quiet. He would listen. But when it came to the city, he was a tiger, and he would uphold the things for the city. And I learned tremendously from Kent during that experience. In 2005, I had an opportunity to run for city council, and I was able to be on the council from that point through Kent's retirement. And I learned so much from two individuals, Mayor Ed and Kent. They were hip. They were here at the hip. You know, they saw things together, they had vision, but most important, they would talk and come up with the very best solution. We know that two heads are better than one, and you put those two together, and it was phenomenal. And as a city councilor, I was mentored by these two men, but especially by Kent. I think we talked a little bit about it, but Kent was a gentle giant. He was a listener. He was a motivator. But more than anything else that I found, he loved his staff. He would gather his staff around, and they loved to work in McMinnville. We lost sight of that for a little while, and we worked really hard to bring that back to the Kent Taylor's standard of how to treat staff. And I think it's so important to remember that the staff is what helps this city be a part of what it is today. Citizens also, but staff are so important. I would go around and in some of my state meetings, and we'd talk to people, and they says, "Oh, I want to work in McMinnville someday. Yeah, let me know when this opens up." And that was what we heard. Well, it's good to be back. It's good to remember Kent for who he really was. He was a listener. He was wicked smart. Oh, he was so good. He loved people, and he brought people together. I turned to the family, and my condolences. You're going to miss Dad, but he's in a better place. It's hard because this is the place, okay? McMinnville _ Kent Taylor's place is the place. You're going to miss him. But time and being and watching this community can continue to grow under the foundational things that he left are so important. And then lastly, Sylvia, what a gem. You were so supportive. You two were together, and you could feel between the two of you the love the desire to serve. Sylvia brings a lot of knowledge of government to the table also, and together they were so good. So again, we think of you, we pray for you. He's in a better place. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you, Scott. Those were the days, my friend. One of the things that has been important to me my entire life as I got involved in volunteering on different boards and stuff, and a lot of you will reflect on this, is all boards need an attorney. And when I first started in local government here, I think the Marsh firm was our attorney, and within my lifetime, we hired our first city attorney. And that gentleman's name was E. Clifton Ross. And it's my honor to introduce the guy that kept me out of trouble so many times in the years that he was here. So part of the great leadership team, Cliff played, as you staff all know, so much of a part of that, keeping our noses clean and stuff and keeping Jeb afar, so to speak. Anyway, Cliff, welcome. Please come up and give us some thoughts about Kent, who you were very close to.
You had to do that, didn't you? Putting this together for me was not easy, and I resorted to my typewriter on several occasions, but then I realized that was just not working. So I came down to McMinnville, unbeknownst to any of you, and I had retained a key to City Hall. So I thought that I would slip up the stairs and enter into that shadowy room in which no sunlight ever penetrates because it's on the north side. And I looked in the room, and on the left was Joe Dancer, and on the right was Kent Taylor. And next to Dancer, who was the city manager preceding Kent, there was a large rock. It was a flat rock. It was a lentil threshed rock which spanned the portal to the city. That was the rock that was next to Joe. And I looked over at Kent, and there was a very small trapezoidal rock. And I said, what can be the message of this? And I realized after looking there that the message was that Joe, as capable as he was a solo performer, and that the rock on Kent's desk was the keystone. Because what he valued more than anything else was the quality and the participation of the people that worked for him. So Joe Dancer had a square portal coming into the city, but much like a Roman arch, Kent brought together the staff members, rewarded them, and valued them very highly. And that was really a strength that transcended everything else. And Kent was truly a keystone. He had standards, and he represented them in the most trying of times. One of those, you'll remember, was when there was a very unfortunate incident, I believe at Newby School, in which there was an improper search of 8th grade girls. And we were all surprised by that. And in the afternoon, Chief Brown came over and said, well, this is the situation, Kent. What do you think we should do? And it didn't take more than an hour of talking and exchanging all the information when Kent said, the right thing to do is to admit we made a mistake. And this is what we're going to do. And he did. There was a letter that went out to all the parents, and there was a move to correct that situation. So my hat is off to Kent. He truly was a keystone member of this community. He left you with a legacy which needs to be duplicated. You cannot just run through people. Your manager has to really believe in this community and contribute to it both at work and at his home and his participation in it. Thank you.
Next, we have Aaron Stevenson, who's going to speak on behalf of Patty Webb, who is retired McMinnville Downtown Association manager.
I adored Kent. He was a friend, a confidant, a mentor, and I am deeply grateful for every interaction I had with him. So those are my words, but I'm not here to deliver my words. I'm here on behalf of Patty Webb, and she wasn't able to be with us today, but she had some words that she wanted to share as well. So I'm going to do my best Patty Webb impersonation for those of you who know her well. Hello, this note is from Patty Webb. I'm so sorry to not be able to attend this gathering to honor Kent. He was a major champion of the McMinnville Downtown Association. I was the manager of the MDA from 1994 to 2008. We were just starting to revitalize 3rd Street back then. I'd been living in Portland and working for a wonderful book, tape, and music shop. I produced quite a few concerts with local Portland musicians. Little did I know that I could become the full-time manager in McMinnville, and all those concerts would be one of the first things I knew how to do. Kent was the city manager for all the years I was there. He was so supportive of the MDA. When we wanted to start our own farmers market, he was totally all for it. No hassles. Over the years, I met many other Main Street managers at quarterly meetings and heard stories about how hard it was to work with their city government. I always bragged about how lucky we were to have Kent. At my retirement party, he told a funny story about me when I retired in 2008. There were many roasts, and Kent's was the funniest. I didn't know he had such a wicked sense of humor. He said if he saw me downtown, he would dash into whatever store he thought I wouldn't be able to see him in because he knew I would start bugging him to have Public Works put out the street closure barricades for parades. Rather than have me and some of the business owners do it. I did that a time or two, too. They were heavy. Those of us who volunteered to do it swore we didn't ever want to do it again. After his roast, he turned around and unwrapped a very big package. It turned out to be my very own street closure sign with my name on it and these words: warning, Patty Webb's office closed, no more working. It brought the house down, needless to say. Kent was one of my very favorite people. I'm so proud of what we, the MDA, did to 3rd Street. As all of you probably know, we were recognized as one of the best main streets in the country by USA Today magazine. Thank you and bless you wherever you are, Kent. You played a huge part in making this happen. With much love, Patty. P.S. We did get Public Works to put out the street closure signs the next year.
Great. Thank you, Aaron. Our next speaker is Doug Montgomery, a retired planner, but he had an official title, and he, I guess, morphed into becoming the community development director in charge of economic development, things like that. In the years that you were here, I've served on the planning commission when we had circuit riders. Remember those days? Yeah. McMinnville didn't have a planner. First planner was Bruce Davis, and he and Joe Dancer didn't quite meet eye to eye, and then I think followed by Rick Highsmith. But I think you followed Rick, and you were number 3. So you were very special during my career, and lots of fun times we had together, and public hearings, and people glaring at you and stuff. But wonderful job. So glad you retired. Glaring at all of us, naturally. So anyway, welcome, Doug.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. It's just wonderful to see all these familiar faces and no pitchforks or other things brought to the room. And for Mr. Ross, a special thank you. That was a mic drop moment that you gave us just a few minutes ago. Appreciate that very much. I had the extraordinary privilege of working alongside Kent for nearly 25 years. Most of the time I worked from a second floor office. In fact, you can see it right there across the plaza, just a few steps down the hall from Kent's. That office provided me with a front row seat to witness all the wisdom, generosity, and goodness that he would display to staff, visitors, and each and every day. And through all those years, and even after my retirement, Kent was a constant in my life. He was my boss, my mentor, my go-to for advice or a laugh. He was my fellow Oregon Duck. And most importantly, he was my dear friend. Through his words and actions, he inspired me and countless others to achieve professional and personal goals that we thought to be out of reach. I am forever grateful to him for all that he has contributed to my life. And it's a bit cliche to say it, but appropriate, that he made me a better person and McMinnville a better and kinder place to be. When you were with Kent, you always felt like you mattered. Not because of your position or what you did, but because of who you were. If I were asked to describe Kent, I'd say this. Imagine if Yoda and Ted Lasso had a baby. Don't think too long of that, it gets a little weird, you know. A little weird. And it grew up wearing bow ties. That was Kent. Wise, relentlessly optimistic, kind, a little mischievous, and way more fashionable than the rest of us. Kent and McMinnville simply belonged together. In his role as city manager, Kent led without ego. There was no grandstanding, no look-at-me moments, just steady leadership, grounded in kindness, humility, and respect. In meetings, he listened, then spoke in that soft, confident voice that made everybody lean in. He never measured his worth or legacy by titles or awards, though he had plenty. Kent was just a guy who believed in people, believed in this community, and even named his dog Mac after the city he loved. Kent's superpower wasn't speeches. It was making you believe in yourself. You could walk into his office weighed down with doubts and leave thinking you could negotiate Middle East peace or at least survive another budget meeting. He did it by connecting with people. He knew your name, he celebrated your milestones, and made you feel seen and valued. And yes, teased you to no end if you rooted for the Beavers. That's how he built trust, belonging, and a sense of family inside City Hall and across this community. Now, before we get crazy here, Kent wasn't perfect. He had a mischievous side. If you ever sat next to him in a meeting, you know what I'm talking about. The man weaponized whispering. You're trying to look serious. The council's debating a budget cut, and suddenly he leans over and whispers, "Show me the money," like some fiscally responsible Jerry Maguire. Now you're choking on laughter in a room full of grim faces, and you're just praying the mayor doesn't notice. Eventually, I learned to always keep at least one person between the two of us. It was a survival tactic. But that was Kent. Serious when it mattered, but never too serious to laugh, and that balance made him so unforgettable. And that's why we loved him. He showed us that leadership isn't about power or position, it's about people, about lifting each other up, about the power of kindness and respect, and of a gentle and helpful spirit, and about reminding us even in hard times that we're not alone. Kent's legacy is all around us, on our streets, in our downtown and parks, and in the very fabric of this community. But most importantly, it's here in our hearts, in the way he made us feel, in the example he set, in the way people speak his name. He left us not just projects and plans, but a community shaped by his care, his humor, and his belief that McMinnville deserved the absolute best. And with Kent, we certainly got it. For his family and all of us that loved him, I know this. Kent's story doesn't end today. It lives on in every life he touched and in every ripple he left behind. So how do we honor this special person that we all love so much? We continue to do what Kent did every single day. We love this city. We take care of each other. We carry ourselves with humility, with humor, and with grace. And yes, when a meeting gets a little too serious, maybe we whisper something a little inappropriate, because that's exactly what Kent would want. Thank you for everything, my friend. We love you always. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Carol Benedict, former city finance director.
I'd forgotten about the whispers, particularly during budget meetings. It's so great to hear all the memories that you kind of forget about. Well, my story with Kent started when he became city manager in 1986. He basically inherited me because prior city manager Joe Dancer had hired me as an accountant the year before that Kent came, with the idea that I might train with Marjorie Kerber for the role of city treasurer and city recorder, as she was scheduled to retire the next year, along with Joe. My prior accounting experience had been in public accounting, which is quite a different business model and working environment than government. In short, in public accounting, people pay for your time. At the city, I quickly discovered that fellow employees weren't always terribly excited or motivated to come talk with the finance director. So these soft skills was the area of growth that I knew I needed to develop. And Kent helped me in so many ways, but mostly by being able to watch his interaction with fellow employees, department heads, city council, and also particularly how he approached problem solving and how to move to a positive resolution. You know, he never talked about win-win, but it was just inherent in him that he wanted, like one of you said, the feeling was important. In general, he was a great mentor, but having the privilege of working so closely with him was always a great learning experience, as well as a joy. And I really struggled over that word joy. It's a strong word. But what I remember and cherish the most was his constant calm and positivity. And you read all kinds of things about bosses, and it was a joy to work with him. So basically, he helped me expand my skill set beyond from just being a CPA with number skills, which has helped me in all aspects of my life. Over the about 23 years we worked together, we developed a great rapport that both benefited me as his employee and his friend, but I think it also benefited the city's financial and operational health.
Thank you, Carol. Our next speaker is our retired, I want to say city engineer. He's always been my engineer friend. He's our public works director, and just to let everybody know, he's the guy that had the most money in City Hall. He had this wonderful sewer fund that we somehow put together that got the bills paid in cash. Anyway, Mike, good to see you and welcome.
Well, apologies if I seem a little underdressed, but there's a story with the shirt and with the hat, so bear with me. I'm going to follow a theme and talk about what amazing, caring human being that Kent was. During my time as director with the city, I had nearly 50 employees that worked for me, and Kent took the time to meet the employees and know what they did for the city. I got a lot of stories from staff where they'd seen Kent away from work, whether it was the grocery store or the bookstore. And he not only knew who they were and remembered their name, he knew to ask how the new baby was, or how the kids' sports games were going, or how things were with the aging parents. I can't tell you how extremely empowering that was for our employees to know that the leader of the organization knew enough and cared enough about them to check in on how they were doing. He always had a knack for knowing when you might need a boost or a pick-me-up. Even after he retired, he would stop by my office just to check and see how things were going. A couple times he came bearing gifts. One time he brought me an Oregon State baseball cap, and I gave him quite the hard time that he spent his hard-earned money on Beaver gear. I just couldn't believe that. So in preparation for today, I went out and spent some of my hard-earned money on a Penn State shirt. I knew Kent would approve and appreciate it. I couldn't quite bring myself to spend any money on Oregon Duck gear, so that clearly makes him a far better person than I am. Another time he showed up wearing one of these ball caps, and he'd brought me this cap. It was shortly after the partnership announced that they were planning on trying to bring professional baseball to downtown Portland. And they were selling these caps partially as a fundraiser, but mostly as a public awareness campaign for their efforts. And Kent was quite excited. We spent quite a bit of time talking about how fun it would be to watch a professional baseball game together in Portland. One more quick story, and some of you may have read part of this in last week's News Register. Many of you in the room may know Brad Lunt, a retired banker here in town. And Brad and I go way back, lots of trips to Alaska and Canada and the Oregon coast together, lots of games of cards played, lots of adult beverages enjoyed. Well, Brad's not exactly an early adopter of new technology. And late this summer, sometime after Kent's passing, Brad decided it was time to update his iPhone. His iPhone was several generations old, and he bought a new phone. Well, to his surprise, when he got the new phone set up, there were a number of voicemail messages on his phone that he had not seen or heard before, and one of those messages was from Kent, and Brad shared it with me. It was from 2021, and I was getting ready to retire from the city after 21 years, and Kent was quite concerned that I wasn't going to have a traditional retirement party. So he was organizing what he called a cavalcade of cards. He was calling people that he knew me, and he was asking them to send a retirement card for me to the Community Development Center. And I know his efforts worked. I received a pretty healthy stack of cards when I retired. I didn't know that that was his doing until I heard the message Brad shared. I didn't get a card from Brad. He didn't get the message. I got a nice bottle of whiskey, but that's a different story. But it was just quite a treat and a pleasure to hear that voicemail message. Reminded me just how wonderful and amazing and caring that Kent was. I feel blessed to have had Kent in my life, and I miss him dearly. Thank you.
Now we have Jenny Berg, our current library director, and also serving as our Park and Rec director.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. So I'm guessing many of you know about the pavers that are in front of the library that have book titles on them, and they were during that time when that project was going on, people could choose to purchase a paver, and they were able to choose the title of the book that they wanted engraved on the paver. And one of those pavers is from the Kent Taylor family with the title Undaunted Courage by Stephen Ambrose. I've not read the book, and so I asked a colleague what might have been the impetus for Kent to have chosen this book. And the colleague said that, well, the book is about going out to explore the world with an open heart and an open mind. And I thought, yeah, that could definitely be why Kent chose this book, and certainly applicable to the way he lived. But I also did a search of some good quotes from the book, and there was one about Meriwether Lewis from the book. The quote reads, "These are some of the qualities that make for a good company commander. Lewis had them in abundance, plus some special touches that made him a much-loved commander. He had a sense, a feel for how his family was doing. He knew exactly when to take a break, when to issue a gill, when to push for more, when to encourage, when to inspire, when to tell a joke, when to be tough. He knew how to keep a distance between himself and the men, and just how big it should be. He knew his profession and was proud of it, and one of the very best at it." And I thought, yeah, that sounds like Kent for sure. Many of those pieces seem applicable to the way his leadership style. And then this morning, another detail of the paver gained clarity for me. The paver actually reads, "Undaunted courage for the children." So that was an added part that Kent wanted on that paver. And I now realize that it wasn't about the book entirely, but about the phrase undaunted courage. Undaunted is defined as not intimidated or discouraged by difficulty. Courage is the ability to do something that frightens one, and strength in the face of pain and grief. So I offer you all this message from the Kent Taylor family book paver. Do not be discouraged by difficulty, and find your strength in the face of grief.
Jenny, thank you so much. Our next speaker is another longtime employee, Jay Pearson, who is our Park and Recs Director. Some of you might know that behind the scenes of the Mayor's Ball, this person lurked, so to speak. And the first couple of years that I approached Kent and Jay about using the community center was kind of like, what is he up to? And anyway, by the time the third year came around, you were one of our biggest supporters. So I will be forever grateful for all the help you and staff gave to Candy and I putting all this stuff together. Anyway, welcome.
It was a blast. Thank you. Thank you. Cliff Ross mentioned when he thought about what to write or what to speak of today, it was just too difficult. I didn't have a key to City Hall, so I couldn't eke around and find the words or find the example that would speak well. And as I thought about it, I learned that our former police chief, Matt Scales, was on a family trip and was not able to be here today, but had requested that someone read his thoughts about Kent. And I thought, well, that gets me off the hook if I do this, because I could tell you it would take me a month to sit down and try to get it just right. And it was difficult to find, and my colleagues that I worked with and appreciated so many years have spoken here already, and I don't think I could have found the words as well. So thank you for that. But I want to read the letter from Matt. And here it is, from Matt Scales, retired City of McMinnville Police Chief. Good afternoon, everyone. I wish I could have been here today. However, a pre-planned trip to visit our daughter in South Carolina didn't allow it. It's difficult to put into words what Kent meant to so many of us, his family, his friends, his colleagues, and this entire community of McMinnville. But I will try my best to write from the heart, because Kent deserves nothing less. Kent was one of those rare people who made you feel seen, heard, and valued. He didn't seek the spotlight, and he wasn't the loudest voice in the room. But when he spoke, people listened, because we all knew that when he spoke, it came from a place of wisdom, thoughtfulness, and genuine care. He was deeply passionate about the city. You could see it in the way he talked about McMinnville's past and its future, in the way he treated people, and in the energy he poured into building something lasting here. He didn't just work for the city, he believed in it. He fought for it, and he loved it. Kent also cared deeply for his family. He was proud of you. He spoke about you with warmth, pride, and a quiet joy that said everything about the kind of husband, father, grandfather he was. And on behalf of everyone who worked alongside him, I want to thank you for sharing him with us. On a personal note, I want to express how grateful I am to have known Kent. In July of 2014, he gave me one of the greatest honors of my career, the opportunity to serve as chief of police. That moment changed my life. He didn't just give me a job, he gave me his trust, and that trust meant everything. Kent believed in people. He believed in their potential, in their ability to rise to the challenge and to do good work. He led with humility and integrity, always encouraging others to bring their best. And if you ever doubted yourself, Kent was the one who reminded you why you shouldn't. I learned so much from him as I watched him lead over the years, about leadership, about service, about patience, about the kind of character it takes to truly make the difference. Kent didn't need recognition because the work itself and the people he did it for were enough for him. As we remember Kent today, I hope we also carry forward what he stood for. Let us lead with integrity. Let us care for one another. Let us invest in our community and in the people around us the way Kent always did. Kent left an incredible legacy, not just in the building or policies, or rather in the buildings and policies, but in people. And those he mentored, supported, believed in, and stood by. I am one of those people, and I know there are many more. So to Kent's family, I say thank you. Thank you for sharing such a remarkable man with the rest of us. I am so grateful I had the privilege to know him, to learn from him, and to call him a friend. Kent, you are deeply missed, but never forgotten. I will say, just on a personal note, as Parks and Recreation Director, and the many years that we spent together, Kent was always 100% behind us in our facilities, in our parks, in the communications with the many public gatherings that we had to move Parks and Recreation forward. And he was just an inspiration to go and speak with, because you'd get caught up in things and you'd drag along worried about everything, and Kent had a way to sort of unravel those thoughts and get you moving forward. There's one thing that need to come up. I think someone sort of mentioned we all have flaws, right? And I think Mike Bissett kind of leaned on it a little bit. But as an Oregon State Beaver myself, Kent was an Oregon Duck. And that went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It seems to be some cosmic coincidence today that Oregon State and the Ducks are playing football together. Well, I forgive Kent for that. He was a great partner and a great friend. And then the toughest of times we had throughout the years, and even through retirement, he was always behind you. So today, you won't believe it, because I've never done this before. But I will wear this hat in honor of Kent today. It'll be the last time I do this. But Kent is in our hearts, and our recollections are so positive. He's one of the good guys in this world, and he won't be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you. So next on the program was Jay Lilly, retired city fire chief, and he was unable to make it today. So we're going to hear from Rich Liefert, retired city fire chief.
So I'm batting cleanup as far as all the sports goes on today. And I think it probably the easiest and most difficult spot, because Kent was an amazing man. I started working with him in 2008 when I was hired here as the fire chief for the city. I found him to be a man of integrity who cared tremendously for his family, the community served, and those of us that served with him. On October, I retired from the city, October 23rd, or 23, I retired from the city as the fire chief. And Kent had been recovering from illness and was weak and could barely talk. Yet he and Sylvia managed to make it to my retirement celebration. He asked that his prepared comments be read out loud. I didn't bring them because they would choke me up too much. But it just demonstrated to me the effort that he took to show his thoughtful behavior and how indicative it was of Kent for his compassion with others. I learned a lot from Kent and his thoughtful approach to complicated issues, on how Kent would demonstrate a sense of calm even during the most stressful times. Nothing seemed to faze him. During my tenure as fire chief, he recognized me, and probably deservedly so, as comic relief for the department head meetings. I'm not sure he appreciated my humor, but he was a very tolerant man also. He seemed to understand many times, actually, he didn't seem to understand it. One day we were having a discussion in his office, and he said, we were talking about my humor in the meetings, and it wasn't in a bad way, it was in a good way. But he recognized that during stressful times I use humor as a way to manage the stress that I was feeling. And that's why he was so tolerant. And Mike Bissett, not quite so much so. His eye rolls were amazing. I learned early on that Kent had the ability to read people very well. And I know this firsthand because during my interview with Mayor Gormley and the City Council and Kent Taylor and Candace Haynes, who was the city attorney at the time, there were some belly laughs and some rolling around going on in that portion of my hiring process, due to some of the responses of some of my questions. And during that process, I told Kent and the council and the mayor that I promise you what you see is what you get. There's going to be nothing different for me. This is who I am. So later that day, I received a phone call from Rose, and she said the city is interested, but Mr. Taylor sure would like to see a psych eval. I don't want to drag on. I know Sylvia and family have a lot more to discuss today, but I respected Mr. Taylor, and I don't say that about a lot of people. I will deeply miss him. And I would like to follow up in Kent's footsteps because he always used a quote of some sort to follow up his important moments. And I'll do one from Bessie Anderson Stanley, and it says, he has achieved success who has lived well, laughed often, and loved much.
Watch the slideshow. Took my love and I took it down. Climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills when the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tide? Can I handle the seasons of my life? Ooh. changing, 'cause I build my life around you. But time makes you bolder, children get older, I'm getting older too. Changing, 'cause I build my life around you. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, I'm getting older too. Oh, I'm getting older too. Took my love and I took it down. Climbed a mountain and I turned around. And I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills when the landslide brought me down. When I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, the landslide brought me down. Oh, the landslide will bring me down. Took my love and I took it down. Climbed a mountain and I turned around. We were born before the wind, also younger than the sun. Yeah, the bonnie boat was one as we sail into the mystic. Hark now, hear the sailors cry. Smell the sea and feel the sky. Let your soul and spirit fly into the mystic. And when that foghorn blows, I will be coming home. And when that foghorn blows, I want to hear it. Don't want to feel it, and I want to rock your gypsy soul. Just way back in the days of old. And together we will float into the mystic. And when that foghorn blows, I will be coming home. And when that foghorn whistle blows, I want to hear it. I don't want to fear it, and I want to rock your gypsy soul. Just way back in the days of old. And together we will float into the mystic. And together we will float into a mystic. And together we will float into the mystic.
Gina, thank you so much. That was wonderful. Now the family would like to come and share some thoughts with you. So Emily, Ben, and Molly, if you guys would step up, and then following them, we'll have a bagpipe, and I'll have some closing comments after that.
Thank you. Thank you, Gina. The first song, Landslide, my dad and I used to swim together at like 5 a.m., some god-awful hour during high school, lap swim. And I vividly remember that song playing. We'd play Fleetwood Mac when we'd go to and from the pool, and he requested that I play that song in some facet at his celebration of life. And then Into the Mystic was a song I played over and over on the last few weeks of his life. Gina was a childhood friend from, 3? Was in and out our door. In fact, her mom was one of my dad's secretaries as well at City Hall. Jay, it's bottom of the third, 31-7 Ducks right now. Just in case you were wondering. I was also an alum at U of O. In fact, my dad and I lived in the same dorm, in the same room, and that room was not remodeled from the time he was there for when I was there. Okay, we're gonna try to get through this. I'm the youngest of 3. My name's Molly. Dad, it's been 141 days since I last held your hand and told you how much I loved you. Ooh. 141 days since I lost one of the bigger pieces of my heart. A season has passed and another begins on Monday. Time just keeps moving on, even without you physically here. Each change of season reminds me how pivotal you were in every chapter of my life. Standing here, giving this speech about my dad in a building named after him feels ironic and a bit surreal. Writing without Dad's proofreading is daunting. Dad always fine-tuned every single thing I wrote, ensuring I expressed my thoughts clearly. Now I'm left to the wolves. Thanks, Dad. And luckily I have my sister. Here are some traits I hope I inherited from him. Importance of community. He believed community was the cornerstone of a fulfilling life. He often spoke about the strength found in connection, emphasizing that relationships with neighbors, friends, and family create a support network that nurtures us through life's challenges. To him, community was not just a group of people living in proximity, it was a shared commitment to uplifting one another, celebrating successes, and providing comfort in difficult times. He believed that fostering strong bonds and encouraging collaboration would create a better world for ourselves and future generations. I needed a tissue. Work ethic. He taught us that dedication and perseverance were essential not for achieving personal goals, but also for building character and resilience. Whether in his professional endeavors or personal projects, he approached every task with unwavering commitment and integrity. He often reminded us that hard work opens doors and creates opportunities, instilling a sense of pride in our accomplishment. His relentless pursuit of excellence and his belief that effort matters have left an indelible mark on my life, inspiring me to embrace diligence and integrity in everything I do. Value of health and movement. He would swim laps with unwavering dedication, lift weights with strength and purpose, run with a spirit, and walk his dogs with enough smiles and waves to last a lifetime. He taught us that staying active isn't just about fitness, it's about nurturing our bodies and minds. Through his example, he instilled in me a lifetime appreciation for movement, showing me that each step taken, each stroke in the water, and each lift of a weight brings you closer to a happier and healthier life. Showing up. Dad never missed a sporting event nor an opportunity to help. We spent an entire summer perfecting my weak soccer leg, transforming me into a player with equally strong legs, key to my success on the field in years to come. He always made an effort to show up, especially during those cherished moments shared with friends and family. He loved joining for happy hours, effortlessly blending into the laughter and camaraderie that surrounded him. With a warm smile, he would often treat us to drinks, proudly raising his glass in toast of friendship and joy, fronting the bill, or sometimes shouting to the random stranger to join us for a whiskey. His presence brought an infectious energy, reminded us all to savor life's simple pleasures. His ability to engage wholeheartedly was priceless. The best hugs. He greeted the ones he loved with open arms always. They were big and where I felt most at home. Unconditional love. My dad's unwavering love was a constant sort of comfort and strength throughout my life. He had a unique way of expressing his affection, often taking the time to write me heartfelt letters, gifting books, and sent thoughtful emails, sharing his wisdom and encouragement daily, even into my adulthood. Each message was a testament to his unconditional love, filled with words of support, pride, and guidance that made me feel cherished and understood. These written tokens of love became a cherished ritual, reminding me that no matter where life took me, I always had his support. His commitment to staying connected through these messages exemplified the deep bond we shared and the profound impact his love had on my life. My dad's grandsons, Nolan, Bridger, Louie, and Max, were his greatest joy, illuminating his life with their laughter, big energy, and accomplishments. He cherished every moment spent with them, taking immense pride in their growth and achievements, as they represented his ultimate happiness and legacy. In his final weeks, we shared conversations about life and death, discussions nothing can prepare you for. In true dad fashion, he remained calm, nurturing, and expressed his unwavering love until his last moments on this earth. Those final conversations brought me peace the first time since his illness began. There's never enough time on this earth. Focusing on what we wish we had only leaves us with emptiness. Dad always emphasized the importance of being present. For 41 years, he reminded me to enjoy the ride. Practicing and showing me patience at every roadblock and chapter we had together. Patience is a virtue, Molly, rings internally in my mind. I miss your support, your advice, and your ability to listen. You offered a judgment-free ear to my ever-changing life chapters, always rooting for me. Growing up, you gave me emotional stability and presence. City Hall was like a second home to me. Walking through those swinging doors, I was welcomed by Cliff, by Rose, by Pam, by Ed. Family to me. It was my earliest lesson in the importance of community and chosen family. You taught me how to treat people with kindness, to listen, spoke highly of others, and rooted for the underdog, always. You lifted everyone around you, regardless of their differences. I moved back to McMinnville 6 years ago after being away since graduation. I saw and knew the impact you had on this little town. As I look around, I see your legacy in the community you built, a bridge between differing viewpoints, a reminder of the kindness and understanding you showed to everyone. You would have loved witnessing everyone come together today, setting aside their political differences. Communities thrive when people come together, and Dad played a pivotal role in cultivating that spirit in McMinnville. I hope that impact he had on this community is everlasting too. He led the city as a city manager with a focus on collaboration and community engagement, prioritizing the needs of residents over personal recognition. His humility and dedication fostered an inclusive environment, allowing diverse voices to shape city initiatives and ensuring that decisions were made for the greater good rather than his own stature. Thank you for everything, Dad. Your legacy will live in this community and in the hearts of those you touch. I miss you deeply. This year I'll blow out your candles for you and toast a big one in your honor as I celebrate our joint birthdays for the first time without you. Ooh, up the golden stairways. This is my sister. I was the favorite.
I was just thinking about how I'm a professional speaking in front of large groups of 7th graders, but this feels a little different, so bear with me. I'm Emily. I'm Kent's eldest daughter. I'm going to start by sharing, you all know that my dad was a big sports fan. And in honor of his unwavering love for sports and his belief in their power to shape lives, we've partnered with the McMinnville Area Community Foundation to create a fund dedicated to supporting McMinnville area youth who face financial barriers to participating in club sports. Dad was more than a fan. He was a champion of every athlete, every team, some teams more than others, in every game. He believed deeply in the lessons that sports teach: resilience, teamwork, confidence, and joy. We hope that this fund will carry forward his legacy by opening doors for young people who might otherwise be left on the sidelines. We hope it becomes a source of opportunity, empowerment, and belonging. At this time, I'd like to invite Jeb back up to share a few words regarding the fund and how you can support it if you'd like.
Thank you. As has been said several times, Kent was devoted to fitness and a fan of athletics and an advocate for youth. It was great to hear the score. The score was 7-7 when I came in. So we should remember that the score during Kent's service was 24-0 so far. But I like the beaver. I'm kind of a combination beaver duck. But as Emily said, the children have Kent's children have created this fund. It's in your program. You take that with you. It provides the information about the fund that's going to be the Kent Taylor Fund, hopefully one that will grow. It's a fund within the McMinnville Area Community Foundation, which is a local group that has grown slowly and steadily to the point that it has millions of dollars in funds such as the Kent Taylor Fund and other family funds and other endowments for the good of the people of McMinnville and children and adults and people with needs and elderly. There's a real cross-section of service. So I think all the information you need is there to, I would ask that you take a look at the McMinnville Community Foundation. You can find it on the internet and browse through some of what that organization is doing. Look for ways that you might be able to join in. There's a lot of good being done there. And I have to make an editorial comment. I'm sorry, but is this being taped? Yeah. We'd like to send a tape of the program to all of the members of McMinnville City Council and who are engaged in finding a new city manager. And we think that this will help you. Think about this tape as you're conducting that church. And thank you very much, and thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you, Jeb. Boys, do you want to come up? On behalf of our family, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today to honor and celebrate our dad and grandpa. A special thanks to Mayors Ed and Mayor Kim and all of those of you who spoke. Words can't express how much it means to look out and see so many familiar faces, people who knew Kent, loved him, and were shaped by his presence in their lives. It's a reflection of the community he helped build and the relationships he nurtured with love and grace. As Dad's long illness progressed, it felt as though pieces of him were drifting beyond reach, leaving us grasping to remember the father and grandfather we had known our whole lives. However, since his passing, through your memories, your words, your stories, we have felt these missing pieces of him return to us. You've helped us to remember the completeness of who he was. His often terrible sense of humor, his kindness, his quirks, and his quiet strength. Kent's deep commitment to serving others was woven into everything he did. Whether through his work, his quiet acts of generosity, or the way he consistently showed up when someone needed him, he lived with a steady, selfless purpose that left a mark on everyone around him. That same spirit continues to guide me in my own life, especially in my role as a teacher. I carry his legacy with me by striving to offer my presence without expectation or judgment, listen with intention, and believe fiercely in the potential of every student. As we bring the celebration to a close, we hope you'll keep sharing Kent's stories. The moments that made you laugh, made you think, or simply reminded you of his big heart. May his spirit move gently through your days, in the kindness you offer, the laughter you share, and the grace you extend. From our hearts to yours, thank you.
There's going to be another video, I believe, and then the bagpipes will play after that? Okay. Okay. And then we'll do dismissal, but is that tight?
Of all the money that I had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm I've ever done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be to you all. So fill to me the parting glass and drink a health whate'er befall. Then gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all. Of all the comrades that e'er I had, the sorry for my going away, and all the sweethearts that e'er I had, they wished me one more day to stay. But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all. Fill to me the parting glass and drink a health whate'er befall. Then gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all. Good night and joy be to you all.
It was a wonderful touch, Sylvia, very beautiful. I'd ask you just to sit down for a moment or two. I just want to, if I can keep myself composed. I just have flashbacks of the last time I saw my friend at the church. Anyway, my retirement from City Hall meant that I get to go take Kent for coffee often. And we did that without fail. And then I'd call the house, and Sylvie said, Kent's not doing real good today. So that was with great disappointment to watch his health decline like it did, because we had great stories we loved to tell each other and corrections that we would say should be taking place, things like that. We critiqued everything in a fun way. One of the crazy things in our relationship was the afternoon that Joe Dancer and I sat down and talked to him about hiring him. I looked at him and I said, I'm not sure you and I are going to be able to get along. And he looked at me like, wow. I said, well, you went to Central Catholic. Well, you don't like Catholics? Well, I went to Jesuit, and that's kind of a tough thing. So as Faith would have been, sometime this week, I would have been buying him coffee or lunch because Central Catholic clobbered Jesuit like 35-6 last night. So anyway, we would laugh about, we were there in the dark ages. Girls were not in attendance, so schools are totally different than that. So anyway, I just can't tell you how much I appreciated my wonderful years I spent with him and the years that I got to spend with him after my retirement from City Hall and that. And as most of the staff, and especially Rose will remember, I didn't miss his birthday. And I called him at Sylvia last fall. I got to talk to him, but it wasn't good. And so here in another month, October 12th, this will be I won't be able to call and wish him happy birthday. That's how close we were. So anyway, I appreciate you all being here to celebrate the life of this wonderful person in McMinnville's life and all of our own lives. We're very blessed to have you with us today. The family has a reception going on, and with that, we're going to dismiss you to go outside and enjoy. Thank you.